Good evening. Welcome back. The August 26th, could I have order, please, in the chamber? Thank you. The August 26th meeting of the Evanston City Council will come to order. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Present.
Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Newsma.
Here.
Councilmember Burns is here. Councilmember Sufferton.
Here.
Councilmember Ravel. Here. Councilmember Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
Here.
Mayor Biss.
Here. We have a quorum and are prepared to do our work for the evening. Welcome back, everybody. The first item on our agenda is my public announcements and proclamations. I first want to just share a few reflections on what occurred last week in Chicago when the Democratic Party nominated former Evanston resident Kamala Harris for President of the United States of America. I had a chance to be at the convention and was just, sometimes here in Evanston, we think of ourselves as not Chicago. Other times we think of ourselves as part of Greater Chicago. And I got to tell you, Greater Chicago came off real well last week. It was just a wonderful triumph for a number of reasons, including, by the way, the efforts of a really diverse group of public safety organizations, including EPD and EFD, who helped out. So I want to thank folks for that. Certainly will not make any political comments here, but what I will say is that it was a real thrill to hear President Obama, in extraordinarily explicit terms, endorse and advocate for precisely what we're doing with the Envision Evanston 2045 project. I think once again, Evanston is kind of at the early part of a movement that will, I think, by necessity sweep the country. And so that was I think a thrilling and uplifting endorsement of the work that so many people in this community and in this organization are working on these days, and about which there's going to be lots more to come in the coming months. Finally, I would like to request, at the end of my public announcements here, a motion from someone relative to item HS1, street naming, because we have folks in the audience who are waiting for that. Councilmember Reed.
I was going to make the motion, but it's probably someone else's ward, so I'll let.
It's my ward. And I just switched to the wrong glasses. It's hard getting old. I move for Resolution 41R224, approval of an honorary street name sign designation, HS1.
Second.
Councilmember Harris moves approval of Resolution 41-R-24. Councilmember Nguyen seconds. Is there any discussion?
Congratulations.
Are we having a light issue again? Did you switch your light
I
on?
think we've fallen out of practice. I'm pushing buttons, but not the right one.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you so much. Dr. Edward, are you here? Yes, if you'd like to stand up. I just am honored to say that he is a resident in Evanston, and that it would be our honor, as always, when we name a street after a resident, to place this on the street in which he has spent much time there, and he's brought many of his congregation, I don't know the right word at the moment, but I wanted to offer him the opportunity to come up and speak because he did have a few words. If you'd like to come up, please.
Well, thank you. I'm very humbled and I'm very honored by this recognition. And I thank Councilmember Harris for nominating me. And I thank the patients who brought forth my name to Councilmember Harris, and the patients who came forth at some of the preceding meetings and spoke. I cannot name them. HIPAA does not allow me to name them, but they are in some of the minutes from some of the meeting. and thank all of you for this is tremendous, tremendous honor. I thank you.
If there's no further discussion, I'll just say I'm excited about this. I've always been so impressed by your commitment to the way in which the practice of medicine and the strengthening of community can overlap. And I think it's a really special gift to Evanston. I've always enjoyed our conversations. I've always learned a lot from our conversations. And I feel like we see eye to eye on a lot of the most tense issues facing the world right now. And you've always kind of helped me not only challenge, but also kind of deepen my own understandings of the issues we've discussed. So thank you for all the good you do. And we're very excited to offer this as a token of our appreciation. Seeing no further discussion, would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Kelly. Aye. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hedekais.
Aye. With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries. The resolution is passed and the street shall still be named. This concludes my announcements, and we move now to the city manager's public announcements.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, Clerk Mendoza. First up, I'm very excited to share with us tonight is Mr. Steve Ruger. He is our second Deputy City Manager. I'd like to ask him to come up and introduce himself.
Good evening, Mayor Council. It's good to finally be here. I know my counterpart, Karina, started a little while ago, but I'm glad to finally join the team and help out and do what I can for Evanston. My career background has been entirely in local government. So I started working in finance, worked my way up to city clerk, then deputy city manager, now city manager before this, and back to deputy city manager. So I'm here from Colorado. So excited to explore Chicago and the restaurants and be part of the team. So looking forward to working with each and every one of you. For those of you I've not met, looking forward to meeting you in person sometime very soon. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And next up, I'm going to turn it over to Corporation Counsel Ruggie, who also has a couple of exciting hiring announcements.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, City Manager Stowe, Clerk Mendoza, Alex Ruggie, Corporation Counsel. It is with great excitement that I announce that the law department is now fully staffed. Tonight, I would like to introduce all of you to our new Deputy City Attorney, Cynthia Granfield. Cynthia, if you can stand up. Cynthia comes to the city with over 20 years of experience in representing local municipal governments in litigation. She's tried over 100 cases to verdict. So we're extremely excited to have her, and she'll be heading our litigation. Also joining us this evening is Matt Sladawi. Matt comes to us with over 14 years experience directly from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office in Skokie. And prior to that, he was a magistrate judge in Alaska. So we are really excited to have a full, robust team here to serve all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Congratulations and welcome to you both. With that, we're going to shift gears to an update on our participatory budgeting updates from Director Thompson, Director Ogbo, and Director Flax. I think we have a brief presentation. Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Sarah Flax, Community Development Director. We are going to walk through the 7 different participatory budgeting approved projects, and give you an update on each one of them. I'm just making sure Ike and Audrey are both here. I'll kick off with the first 2. So if we can. Small business grants. $150,000 was allocated for small business grants. And we did something that I can tell you the businesses really loved. We had already allocated some ARPA money to small business grants through the Evanston Thrive. So rather than start a whole nother project or program, we rolled the money together, which really gave us the best opportunity to get the money out there quickly. We had the criteria, the scoring, and what the businesses love is they didn't have to apply again. We didn't put them through a whole nother process to accomplish the same thing. So that 150, in fact, the whole 400,000 that was allocated through of ARPA for small business grants has been awarded. So that's a success. Affordable housing subsidy. This is $810,000 back in, March, May, something like that. A long time ago, it seems. Council approved a rent assistance program that would be implemented by Connections for the Homeless, with a focus on disparately impacted residents, which was what the Participatory Budgeting Committee had defined. So far, 21 households, total of 50 people, have received assistance to date. Some have ongoing assistance because they're getting a 12-month rent subsidy. Some others, for example, we have one household that got case management, down payment assistance, and first month's rent, but then Connections had a different source of rent assistance, which they matched, so they got rent assistance through that program. So this has also allowed us to get different households to the best source of funding, so we maximize the effectiveness of our different rent assistance programs. This program will carry out very close to the remainder of the whole ARPA period, because some households will likely get a second year of subsidy if that's what they need to stabilize their housing, as we work with them, as Connections works with them to get their income up and the various other things that will make them more stable. I'm now going to turn over the microphone to Ike, who will talk to you about the Affordable Refugee Housing Project.
Thank you. Good day, members of the City Council. Ike Ogbo, Director, Health and Human Services Department. We have been working on this element for a little while now, and the way in which we want to fashion this program is to collaborate with non-for-profit organizations who are tailored or have the infrastructure already in their system to assist our refugees. We have been meeting. As a matter of fact, we have another meeting scheduled this week to continue to develop and plan on how to provide assistance, mainly housing, for our refugee programs. As you probably know, we do have a small-scale refugee program in-house. It is funded by only $50,000. And since we already have that template in place, it will be a collaborative effort between the Health and Human Services Department, Family Focus, Moran Center, and other organizations whom we've been having conversations with. And we hope to bring this item to City Council in October for approval. The next item is mental health first aid. And this is a program that we are designing, which is slated to come to City Council for approval in October as well, where we are providing first aid training to particularly our first responders, administrators, or individuals in schools, teens, and what have you. To our delight, most of our city employees who are considered as first responders or those who cater to our youth services have already gone through mental health first aid. Our proposal will be a community-wide first aid training for communities, something that we will extend to businesses, community centers, churches, our long-term care facilities, and etc. And as I stated, this item will be coming to City Council come October for approval. So that's it.
Good evening, members, City Council, Manager Stowe, Mayor Biss, Clerk Mendoza. I am Audrey Thompson. I am the Parks and Recreation Department Director. And I would like to discuss three proposals that my department is responsible for overseeing. Okay, here we go. So the first is the Youth and Young Adult Drop-In Center at Gibbs. I highlight the fact that we have met with stakeholders 9 times in the last several months, because I want you to know how important it is for us to look at the initial proposal presented and also be able to scale that down so that we're able to fit into the 210,000. That proposal is really ambitious with the kitchen renovation. It also includes a music studio, movie theater, furniture, center equipment. So that's a lot for 210,000. We've met with several outside and internal entities just to find out what we can do internally. And our goal is to have all of our RFPs finalized by the end of this year so that we can really understand exactly. But also, we just received our draft from Hiron's consulting firm that really will help us understand more about programming there, which is also another part of that, that proposal. The urban farm, we have looked at several locations, but have been unable to identify one place that is up to an acre. I will say that it has been challenging just to figure that out and to ensure that whatever place we have, that's somewhere that the individuals can work for up to about 10 years. It's a lot of work to put into a proposal if you can't have a contract that extends past 10 years or at least 10 years. We are working, we have a meeting scheduled for September with MWRD Commissioner Cam Davis, who would like to really talk to us about some ideas for locations. So we're hopeful that after that meeting, we can come back together with one more option and then find a location for the urban farm. And then finally, incentives for marginalized youth. That was originally called the CARE plan, and we changed that name, given that we don't want that to be, we don't want people to think that's our alternative response. So it is now called ELEAP, and that stands for Evanston Learning, Empowerment, and Advancement Program. We will actually start implementation October 1st. District 65 will start to send out letters to students as to how they will be able to participate and sign up for classes and programs. And I do want to, I want to say I'm so happy that members from our participatory budget team are here that really helped us in executing, getting us to where we are here. And I'm happy that they're here, but also happy that they're able to tell me when they've heard things in the community so we can dispel myths. And one myth is that the college tours are of Northwestern. That is a myth. We're actually going to HBCUs and PWIs, not even in this state. And so the goal is to allow young people to get points where they can earn the trips. And we'll go to those college tours in 2025 and 2026. We have a subcommittee. And for each one of our proposals, we're actually working with the individuals who created the proposal. Those are my updates. Any questions?
Councilmember Reed, followed by Newsma, followed by Kelly.
I don't have questions for you, but one, thank you to the whole team, Director Thompson, Director Flax, and Director Ogbo for your leadership, as well as our consultants and volunteers and folks who help make this happen. And somewhere out there, Matthew Orrin. I'm excited about this. I understand. My one concern is I feel like the timeline. Some of this is taking longer than I would have hoped, but that's what we do here, government. So the thoroughness of it is really important. So I really appreciate folks taking the time to make sure that we're getting it right and actually doing what the community asked us to do. I just want to use this opportunity to just highlight again how beneficial participatory budgeting was for our community. And I think the need for us to continue with PB in some form, starting again for the 2025 budget. It gave us a great opportunity to engage with residents in a meaningful way. Folks are continuing to get an education on how government works and, how difficult some of the stuff is to get done. And I think this is an example of it. But it's just such a valuable tool for engagement and such a valuable tool for educating residents that I can't imagine the benefit of giving it up. And so I would encourage us as we move into the 2025 budget season to continue to find a source of funding that we can really just, in some ways, just change the way that we allocate that funding. Certainly there's some overhead cost with running the program, but it's extremely worth it. And so I encourage us to look deeper into this and move forward with that in 2025. Thank you.
Councilmember Newsma, followed by Kelly, followed by Harris, followed by Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quick question for Director Thompson before she gets too far away. The urban farm item here, is Evanston Grows involved with
yes.
that at all?
Gene
Okay.
Feist, yes.
Okay, so that's the Evanston Grows is looking for an acre. You guys are looking for an acre. It's the same acre.
It's the same acre.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
So they are the individuals who helped. Not the only ones that helped with the proposal, but they were very instrumental. So it's the same acre,
Okay.
up to an acre.
Thank you for clarifying. That's all I had.
Councilmember Kelly, followed by Harris, followed by Burns.
Thank you. And thank you to our staff and I'm glad to see Matt Easterly and Celia Carlino here. Thank you for being here this evening. How much, for these plans, do you all work together in that? I'm just wondering what the team's role is in collaboration with the specifics of the allocation. Do they?
As far as the allocations, the amounts?
Yeah, or
So-
like when you decide, like how it's, I mean, is it just entirely staff or is it a collaborative effort with the PB team?
So
decide?
I can speak for the three that I'm responsible for. It has been in collaboration. Every meeting that we have, there's someone who sat on the panel to write the actual proposal. I have met with our participatory budget team just to provide updates and also just for them to fill me in on additional involvement for participatory budgeting moving forward. But our participatory budget team is not sitting on each one of the proposals. They're not sitting on with those meetings, but the actual people who wrote the proposals are with us in every step of the way for at least my three proposals. I think some proposals are, farther along, but for these, yes, I don't have a meeting without the folks who wrote the proposal. So we can make sure that we're doing or executing the program in the manner in which they designed.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Harris, followed by Burns.
Yes, I just wanted to echo the statement of Councilmember Reed, and that participatory budgeting had a groundswell, and I think it really created great movement in our community, and that I do as well hope that we continue to figure out how to make financial commitments to something like that where the community is completely feels immersed and part of the decision making and the things that happen in the community. I think it brought people together. I think it brought mindsets together. I think it gave us a place to think outside of the box where we normally would not have done that. So I am very much in favor of trying to figure out how we bring an element of that back. I know we don't have the pot of money that ARPA and COVID brought us, but the sentiments, the way people felt, the way that people are engaged is really important for our city. So I just wanted to echo his sentiments with that. Thank you.
Councilmember Burns.
Mayor, if you would acknowledge a motion, I would actually like to motion that we discuss PB at an upcoming Finance and Budget Committee meeting. If I can get a second for that motion.
Second.
And I just felt like that's the most appropriate next step, is to send it to Finance and Budget Committee. We meet tomorrow, so I know we won't be able to make it on that agenda, but hopefully the next one.
Councilmember Burns moves that a discussion of participatory budgeting be on the next Finance and Budget Committee meeting to occur subsequent to August 27th. Councilmember Nguyen seconds. Is there any discussion on this motion? If not, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Zacharias.
Aye. With 9 voting in favor, none voting against, the motion carries, and this item will be on the next agenda, I guess the first, whatever meeting occurs in September, of the Finance and Budget Committee. Do you have anything further, Councilmember?
I do not. Thank you.
In that case, Councilmember Hadakaris.
I just want to add my support to having PB in our budget next year going forward. I think there are ways we can take existing budget items and allocate them to be decided upon by the PB committees. And I think, we sometimes get criticism about not doing our best when we do community engagement. And I think our PB team has really reached people who don't normally interact with government, and we're able to get great ideas from them. And I think for me, one of the most impactful things that came out of this is the youth outreach, and the fact that high schoolers could vote on these projects. I think that's incredibly powerful. And I think we need to find a way to do this every year moving forward.
Well, I just want to echo the comments that have already made. I think it's really, really productive that there will be a next step that could lead us to a really positive outcome. And I want to thank the thousands of people that participated first and foremost. Just the number of participants was pretty extraordinary, and the intensity of engagement was really wonderful. So I want to thank everyone for participating, and I want to thank the various teams, both internal and external to this organization, for all the great work they did. So excited to learn about next steps, and thanks all for your really, really important and meaningful work. Back to you, Luke.
I would echo all that, and that concludes my remarks.
The next item on the agenda is communications from the city clerk.
We received an email from Katie Nordine regarding the free beach passes, more asking about the possibility of extending this to children that attend District 65 and District 202, that attend Evanston schools but have the 60203 zip code and do not currently qualify for free beach passes. I did forward that email over. It's quite a long email. And another one is from Gary Bergman, stating his concerns about mandating for landlords to not discriminate against dog breeds. The concern mainly being around the unintended consequences of that, having less rentals for dogs. And the other from Brittany Kurt from the Evanston Animal Shelter Association, saying they do, they learned about the proposal to prohibit landlords from limiting dog breeds, but they would like some more time, asking the council to extend the proposal 3 months in order to discuss with other organizations and investigate the effects of similar ordinances in other jurisdictions. And that's it. Thank you. Oh, and happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you. We can
Mayor Biz.
we can celebrate my birthday by having the city council meeting not still happening during it. Knock on wood. The next item on the agenda is public comment. This evening we have just a few people signed up, so everyone will be given the full 3 minutes. In fact, there's no one who signed up on the paper who's still here, so we'll begin with those who signed up online to speak in person. Beginning with Jeff Forgash, who will be followed by Rodney Green, and then Brittany Kirk.
Is it on? Yeah, thanks. Timing's everything. You were talking about Fountain Square and then about public safety. So my name's Jeff Forgash. I've been an Evanston resident for about 40 years. I've lived in South Evanston. I've lived in Central Evanston. I've lived off of Central Street. And we downsized and moved to Fountain Square. I'm at 1580 Sherman at the Optima, and I'm all the way at the top where the orange balconies are. So every day, if I'm like not traveling for work, I get to observe what's going on downtown Evanston. And Fountain Square is really important. And by the way, we still can't figure out, it's no man's land, who is actually responsible for Fountain Square and the activities that go on there. So I have a couple of observations relative to the past couple of years, and I just want to bring them up, and I think there are opportunities for the city of Evanston to maybe just consider some solutions to what's going on. First and foremost, there's a lot of activity in Fountain Square late in the afternoon and in the evening, and I've witnessed a lot of fighting, and I've witnessed a lot of folks in the park walking over to the cars, turning on Sherman and Davis, swearing at everybody. There's some folks that are at the Chandler Square Potbelly starting at 7:30 or 8 in the morning. I'll be careful. I can't say the word. It starts with an F. They will scream that for 8 hours. And so when I can close my windows up at the top level and I can still hear that swearing, it's an issue. And it seems over the past 6 months to, gotten worse. And so there's kids, walking around in the evening, and there's families, and there's out-of-town visitors. So I think it's an opportunity for the city to do something in respect to just making sure, that kind of activity is not going on. There's also random musicians that come. Unless you live downtown Evanston, you probably wouldn't be aware, because this wouldn't happen on Central Street. So there's random musicians that'll set up maybe 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, when it's warm out. And they'll bring a drum set at 8 o'clock and mic it up with an amplifier. And we can hear the drummer playing until 9:30 at night. We'll call the police, and somebody else mentions something. The police will come. There's been some people setting up DJ equipment at 8 or 9 o'clock. And I love Marvin Gaye more than anybody. I happen to be a musician as well. But I don't want to hear Marvin Gaye inside of my unit at 10:30 at night. So, and we've tried to figure out, is there like someone who's responsible for okaying? Can I keep going or not?
No, we enforce the rules equally for everybody. But you're welcome to send further comments in writing or to reach out to your council member or the mayor. The next speaker is Rodney Green, who will be followed by Brittany Kirk. I do not see Mr. Green here.
Yes.
Got it. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right. This is Rodney Green. I'm a resident of the 5th Ward. Sorry, I couldn't be there today, kind of under the weather. But I just want to say good evening to City Clerk Mendoza, Mayor Biss, council members, and the city manager. Proper way of introducing everybody that way. But I just want to talk about the compensation committee's report that you all received. I believe that everybody should get a raise because it's an important job to do for this community. But in saying that, I could not agree with the final compensation that the committee had granted. To me, I believe that yes, you should get a nominal fee, but it shouldn't be something compared to the non-union employees of the city, because you're not non-union employees, you are elected officials who are here to do things for the community that you said you wanted to do, and it didn't matter how much money you got. Now, I'm thinking I put in a proposal, maybe a 3% increase, which would have been a nominal fee for everybody's increase. And also I agree with the $208 that would be given to you if you opted out of the health unit package, which would give you an extra $2,499.96. Now that would increase everybody's fee if they take off an extra $2,000. I hope that you may not check. I mean, it's up to you to decide what you want to do, but I just want to say that I think that it's may not be in the right direction with everything going up in prices today. I believe that you're doing a good job, but I also believe that the taxpayers are going to be the ones who are paying for that in the long run. I think that's all I have to say, but have a great evening, and I'll be keeping an eye on you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Brittany Kirk.
Good evening, council members. My name is Brittany Kirk, and I'm the president of the Evanston Animal Shelter Association. The clerk did already read my comments, so I will keep this brief. We were going to speak to the proposal to prohibit landlords from excluding certain breeds, and we were simply asking for more time to look at that. My understanding is that Councilmember Reed is agreeable to giving us a little bit of time to explore and see what sort of whether that's been implemented in other jurisdictions and whether there have been any unintended consequences. But I did want to acknowledge Councilmember Reed for raising this issue, because I certainly think it's a very important issue. It's much more difficult and more expensive for people who own dogs to find housing. That's true even if it's a 15-pound Shih Tzu, and it's infinitely more difficult when you're talking about breeds like those that are classified as pit bulls, which are servile, but also German Shepherds and Huskies. There's a lot of them. So I do think it's a really important issue. And if the result of the ordinance was to simply have those landlords who do allow dogs to continue with their current practices but stop discriminating, that would be fantastic. We just wanted some time to look at the consequences. So I appreciate Councilmember Reed for indulging us in that, and thank you for raising the issue.
Thank you very much. This concludes those who were signed up to speak in person. So we move to the online commenters. Mary Rosinski.
Hi, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Regarding the dogs, I know that it used to be that insurance companies charged more to the owners of property if they had those certain breeds, but I understand that as of 2023, that has changed, and they are no longer charged for those breeds, and that was a big issue, I know, with some of the landlords I represented. So luckily that is now gone, because I know my kids had a pit bull, and it was really hard on our insurance company. But the other things are regarding the OSLO grants, I'm really glad that they're going to apply for these grants. I know it was posted since like July 1st, and the deadline is September. I'm wondering if we can at least open it up to meet a couple of the 10 priorities that the Parks and Rec Department had posted, and the two that we're not really working on yet in terms of funding it totally is the dog parks. That was at number 2, I believe, and the pickleball courts. We did say we wanted to spend $350,000 for those, and so I'm wondering if somehow or other we can incorporate those without doing pickleball courts at James Park, where we're told that the soil is not conducive and will be, can we just open it up to other parts, or the Mason Park renovation? So those were my questions regarding it. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comment for the evening. We now move to the consent agenda. I've already been asked to remove item A2 from the consent agenda, and we've already passed item HS1. What else would folks, Councilmember Reed?
HS2.
HS2.
Could we pull A13?
Sorry, I heard A12 and A13. Was there anything else that I'd missed?
You're going home early tonight.
So this time we have items A2, A12, A13, HS1, and HS2. If there are no further removals, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move the consent agenda minus the items that we just pulled, which are A12, A13, HS2.
A2 as well, please.
A2.
And HS1.
Second.
Councilmember Reed moves approval of the consent agenda with the exceptions of A2, A12, A13, HS1, and HS2.
I'm sorry.
Councilmember Reed
I'd also
is going to
like-
modify his motion.
Yeah, I'd like to remove C2. Or CC2.
All right. Councilmember Reed moves. Whoa.
The compensation committee.
Sorry, hold on. Is it the case, these are items CC 1 through 3 are listed for action.
They should be.
Have they been voted on before? So these should all be for introduction. Okay. Okay, sorry.
As well as HS2 should be for introduction as well.
Yeah, that I think should be corrected here. Oh, no, it's not. That's right. HS2 is for introduction as well. Okay. Councilmember Reed moves approval of the consent agenda with the following 6 exceptions: A2, A12, A13, HS1, HS2, CC2. Councilmember Harris seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none with the...
One minor item to point out that the minutes have been revised based on some feedback. So we are approving them with this vote as revised.
As revised, okay. So with a kind of warning to both council and the community, there's been a revision to the minutes since the agenda was since the packet was first posted. There's no further discussion. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Okay, Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen. Aye. Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Aye.
Councilmember Ravel. Aye. Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Heracles.
Aye. With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries and the consent agenda is approved. Councilmember Kelly, do you have a motion on item A2?
Yes, I'd like to move item A2, approval of BMO Harris Amazon credit card activity.
Second.
Councilmember Kelly moves approval of BMO Harris Amazon credit card activity. Councilmember Reed seconds. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns. Aye. Councilmember Sufferton.
I abstain.
Councilmember Ravel. Aye. Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Heracles.
Aye. With 8 voting in favor, none voting against, and 1 abstention, the motion carries and the activity is approved. Councilmember Kelly, do you have a motion on item A12?
I'd like to move item A12, free beach passes for non-resident Northwestern District 65 and ETHS students.
Second.
This is a discussion.
This is
Correct.
for discussion.
Councilmember Kelly moves that we discuss free beach passes for non-resident Northwestern District 65 and ETHS students. Councilmember Reed seconds. Councilmember Reed followed by Heracles.
Thank you. I'm proud that the first action, that the first motion made of this council was to make the beaches free for Evanston residents. And I'm proud of this council for moving that forward. I think now is the time for us to realize, let's just end all of this. Let's stop printing little plastic cards for folks to enter our beaches. Let's stop having teenagers IDing people like they're getting into a club. And let's make our beaches free for everyone. let's use them as the economic engine that they should be to attract people from our region to Evanston, to frequent our local businesses, we now charge parking at our lakefront for non-Evanston residents. So to expand our parking fund, and I don't know if our parking manager is still here, but last time I checked, it's a significant source of revenue for us. I think to the tune of over $300,000 a year. Maybe this last season it could have gone up to $400,000 potentially, and we've raised property taxes for just as much. So this is a great source of revenue for us, and I think we should put an end to this and make the process on our Parks and Rec staff, on our beach staff, much easier than it currently is. And so, I definitely support this proposal, but I think, we should truly end the exclusionary policy that that was implemented long ago under racist and classist ideas, and we should make our beaches accessible to this whatever your religion is, this God-given creation. It should be accessible to everyone. Thank you.
Councilmember Hedekaris.
So this is a topic that a friend and neighbor brought up to me as a measure of concern. Her one of her kids, his friends aren't able to come to the beach even though they go to high school with them. And I was like, I will bring this up to Director Thompson and talk to our Parks and Rec staff about. And I really feel strongly that the kids who go to the high school or D65 schools, they're community members, and so they should get a free beach pass with enrollment in our schools. I think we're also going to see people that if you have a couple kids, it might be a big cost for to buy 4 beach passes, temporary passes to come, but if the kids already have the pass, you'll see the parents come. And I think it's good to have people come and use our resources and enjoy them. As far as Northwestern students go, I think we should keep it the same. If you are enrolled here, you still get a beach pass. I personally was a Northwestern student who could not afford to live in Evanston. I lived in Rogers Park for the 1 year I lived off campus. And so I think there's kind of a thought that all students that come here are really affluent, but that's not the case. And so I would like us to, keep the access for the Northwestern students with their enrollment, and then also open it up to D65 and 202 kids.
Councilmember Nusma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will echo what Councilmember Hedekaris said about the Northwestern students. I would advocate for maintaining the status quo with regards to Northwestern students. On the issue of the Skevinston residents, I am in alignment with the recommendation of the Parks and Rec Board, which is that we should continue to offer them the discounted pass that's available to Skokie residents. Thanks.
Okay, well, this is fun because what we're being called upon to do is give staff direction. At this time, 3 people have spoken. They've expressed 3 different opinions, and there's no more lights on. So I would urge someone, Councilmember Seffernan.
Sure. I'm sorry, I don't have the packet in front of me, but I want to make sure I understand. Northwestern students have access to the Northwestern Beach regardless of where they live. Lincoln Street Beach. So we are not giving beach access to people who otherwise wouldn't have it, like is being proposed with District 65 and 202 students. They have no access to Evanston beaches as it stands right now.
That's correct.
Okay. And every one of these decisions has a financial consequence. If we were to expand free beach passes to District 65 and 202 students that are in 60203, what would the cost of that be?
So we're looking at, there are about 745 students that live in 60203. Those are some numbers that we received. So per pass, what are we looking at? And that is out of 6,000 students.
Yeah.
So just how much our beach passes are time, that amount.
Oh, so that would be $5 if they came with a friend.
So right now, if you get a pass, it's $5, but that's each time you go.
Right.
So we're looking to just offer them the same pass for the entire season. So our rates are different as the seasons go. So, but we are looking at, let's see, the most it would be if they, so you're looking at 35 for a Skokie resident, April 8th through June 7th, June 8th through July 31st, 43, and August 1st, 24. So if you do that time, whenever they choose to get a pass, times 745, we're looking at, let's see, the most, $32,000.
Okay. I mean, the 202 and 65 issue is really allowing community members access to a beach that they don't have at all. Northwestern students who do not live in Evanston still have access to Lincoln Street Beach.
Correct.
And if they live in Evanston, we'd be giving them the same thing that we give every resident.
Correct.
So I do think like the community goal of having cohesion among our 65 and 202 students is worthwhile, especially because we're, one of the great things about Evanston is you start with your elementary school community and then it expands when you go to middle school and expands further when you go to Evanston. So creating an incongruency there doesn't seem to make sense, and it doesn't help with the social cohesion that we want as part of the educational process. As it pertains to the Northwestern students, and then we're not talking about a big number, I'm presuming, and I don't have any information to back this up, but I'm guessing a large majority are Evanston residents anyway, and we would require them to show the same utility bill or whatever we require of Evanston residents to qualify for a free beach pass. I don't know that that's the same issue, but it's also probably not as large of a financial hit, or is it?
So we actually don't keep track because our system is only set up to do a free beach pass for 60202 and 60201. So anything out of that would sell a person a non-resident beach pass.
Okay.
And so the only way they're getting on to the beach would be for them to show their Northwestern ID and gain access to the beach.
Okay. I mean, I certainly think that there's a larger issue, and you're a District 65 and 202 student for 12 years. I mean, it's important, in my opinion, that you don't have kids who aren't part of going to the beach with their friends for that entire time. Not that kindergartners are meeting up and going on their own, but I do think that there is a stronger policy argument for extending free beach access to 65 and 202 students than there might be for Northwestern students. But if we're talking about the reduced rate, do we have data that would show how many, I assume we haven't collected like what 202 and 65 students from 60203 have got. We know how many people from 60203 have gotten the reduced rate, but we don't know how many of those are students as well, or do we?
We do not.
Okay. I mean, I think it's important that, like in all of our programming, that we encourage as much access for people who are in the Evanston community. I certainly include 65 and 202 students in that. Northwestern students who are residents of Evanston are part of that. I don't know that Northwestern students who are not Evanston residents are, but I also don't know that that number is big enough that it makes a big financial difference. So to your point, if this is, you're looking for direction, I would think the priority should be expanding it to 65 and 202 students who live in 60203. And the Northwestern students who live outside of Evanston, that would be nice to do if it makes financial sense, but there are costs associated with staffing the beaches. And if we're going to take steps to diminish the revenue that the beaches generate, we've got to take that into account. And so in conclusion, my priority would be extending 60203 District 65 and 202 students the same advantages that District 65 and 202 students who live in Evanston get.
I do want to clarify the 745. That's a number for District 65. I did not receive stats back from ETHS to know exactly for 60203. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
It's probably about half that.
It's probably
Councilmember Revelle, followed by Kelly.
Well, I want to second the comments from my colleague, Councilmember Sufferton. My priority would be that we make it possible for our 60203 students at District 65 and 202 to be able to go to the beach in the same terms as their classmates. So that would be my strong preference. If I have to chime in about Northwestern, I'd say they can go to the Lincoln Street Beach.
Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, I would also agree with Councilmember Sufferton and Councilmember Revelle. I think, to promote that social cohesion, as Councilmember Sufferton said, I would also like to see it expanded to our 60203 students. But again, our Northwestern students already have privileged access. No matter where they live, they get to get on to one of our public beaches, the Lincoln Street Beach. So I would concur. Thank you.
At this time, no one is requesting to speak for the first time, so we go back for a second crack to Councilmember Reed with 2 minutes and 50 seconds left.
Thank you. Some of the arguments I'm hearing are, again, I think we need to move to make our beaches free for everyone. Folks are talking about cost. If you remember when we first changed it to make it free for Evanston residents, folks were talking about cost and saying that it was going to blow a hole in the budget. And that has not been the case. We've seen revenue with our parking increase because we've added parking meters along the lakefront just for non-residents. So one, we're charging folks who don't live in Evanston to park along the lakefront. Then we're charging folks to access the lakefront. And pardon me, what the hell do we have at the lakefront that's so special other than the lakefront that was not created by us? You walk along the Chicago lakefront, and there are, and even Wilmette, since folks really love Wilmette, and there are structures on the lakefront, and there's there's just nothing at our lakefront but the lakefront itself. So what are we charging folks for? It just doesn't make sense to me. And then if you want to talk about cost, what is the cost of those Northwestern students going to the beach in Chicago and then spending money in Chicago that they could be spending here supporting our local businesses? You don't think folks get hungry after a long day at the beach and they're going to go to a place that's close by? And so we're hurting our restaurants, we're hurting our downtown because we want to exclude the other folks who aren't Evanston residents. Seemingly, that's the only real argument I can see here. And then, to make folks show utility bills or their ID or all this stuff just to be able to go to the lakefront, and then to give them little plastic cards that it just does not make sense to me. And I really wish we could get out of this dated thinking that we have to keep the lakefront exclusive to Evanston residents, because we know that thinking historically, I'm not accusing anyone here, but historically was based in racism and classism. And so we really need to change this. And I think by making the beach just free, we'll encourage more folks from the 5th Ward, from the 8th Ward, from the 2nd Ward to go, because, we know that when it comes to things like voting and other issues, that just having to show an ID or having to jump through small hoops often discourages folks, especially folks who are marginalized and lower income, and disproportionately those are people of color. It discourages them from engaging in the activity. And so we need to reduce the barriers to folks getting access to our natural landscapes. Time is up, I'm sure. Thank you.
It is still the case that no one is asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Kelly with 4.5 minutes left. That was an inadvertent light, I guess. We go back to Councilmember Sufferton with half a minute left.
Thank you. And I'm not sure if this is a question for you, Audrey, or a question for Chief Pollitt, but what are our personnel costs for lifeguards and maintenance at the beach annually?
Yeah, that's a cost. Do we have that? For, you know what? Do we have 20?
And if you don't have the number, I mean, to your point, Councilmember Reed, there are costs associated with having safe beaches and maintained beaches. So it's not free. So those costs need to be accounted for. Maybe it's not directly through charging for beach access, but they are budgeted costs. What are we paying total for lifeguards and in instances where we need to have fire rescues?
Sure. Paul Pollitt, good evening, City Council members, Mayor Biss, Clerk Mendoza, City Manager Stowe was not there, but my name's Paul Pollitt, Fire Chief. At this time, we're with uniforms, equipment, training, staffing. We're probably at about $620,000.
Okay, thanks. I mean, I just want to make it clear that there are costs associated with running beaches. It's not free just because it's not man-made. Thank you.
So at this time, I think everyone's made their positions clear. There's a variety of views. There's no lights. Councilmember Kelly now for a second crack with 4.5 minutes left. And I would say, if you or anyone wants to make a motion to demonstrate for staff what there's majority support for, that might be helpful. Go ahead, Councilmember Kelly.
I just wanted to say, in addition, I mean, if we were to allow Northwestern students access to all the beaches besides the Lincoln one, we'd have to also consider all the private schools in Evanston. And I mean, it just, okay, I would go ahead then and make a motion to support expanding access to our students in the 60203 zip code.
Councilmember Kelly moves to
District
direct
65.
staff to prepare, and will this come back to A&PW or come straight to council? Just back to council, I guess. We're here already.
Policy, then I think it needs to go.
What's that?
Come back to us.
Yeah. All right. So Councilmember Kelly moves to direct staff to prepare for the next practicable meeting, proposal to expand access, specifically to, District 65 and 202 students living in the 60203 zip code and maintain the status quo for all other aspects of the beach token program. Councilmember Nguyen, I believe, second. Was that right? Sorry, Ravel. I apologize. So there's been the motion, the second. Councilmember Burns, followed by Hedekaris, followed by Nusma.
Director Thompson, is the idea that if a family were purchased in the 60203 area, were purchasing a beach token, that it would automatically alert them that they don't have to pay if they have a student in the district? Like, I'm just trying to see how they would know. How would they know they don't have to pay for that?
I mean, I think that's something we could use the EL3 platform, the same that we're using for eLeap, to get the word out. We'd also put it in all of our e-newsletters.
Yeah, I think it also, if there was a way, and maybe this is something I don't know I don't know the vendor that we're working with when people purchase tokens. Is it not a vendor at all? And so it's our tool. Is there like a tool where you can do it manual or by without any assistance, or you got to call somebody to do it?
They do it at our community centers or at the beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just a part of the training. If somebody comes up, they have a 6023 zip code, you just let them know, hey, by the way, we're doing this new thing.
Right. So we would extend the permissions to 60203 for students with an ID, and that would allow those students, but it would only be for the ID. So it wouldn't be for the entire family.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting, because it wouldn't be the student, it would be likely the head of household, or some adult in the household.
It would just be the student with
no,
the
I'm
ID.
saying, but they would be the ones purchasing the tokens, and then they would have to then provide that ID for the student.
For the student, yes.
Yeah, and I'm happy with this. There's something that is a little off about not extending this to the whole family. It's like, District 65 and high school students don't go to the beach by themselves. That's like something you do with family and not necessarily, maybe you're going to the beach with some friends and so it's not awkward. You just have this token for yourself that you can use if your Evanston friends are going to the beach. But it's just something strikes me as off about that. I would love to see us include the entire family. I'm not going to make a motion. If there's not support for it, I'll let somebody else do it. But that is something there's a little something off about that.
I want to make sure I'm clear as far as administratively. So all students also do not have an ID. So administratively, our staff will have to figure that out. Because like the younger they are, they don't issue student IDs when you're like first grade.
Yeah.
So we would have to, I just want to make sure you all are aware of that. So so people don't call and say, well, my second grader doesn't have an ID. So we would have to get something now. To Councilmember Reed's point, now we're going to have to get something from the school that says that person is a student.
Okay. That's all for now. Thank you.
Councilmember Hadakatis, followed by Nusma.
So speaking on that point, I think when I just this summer got the beach passes for my family, one of the options is to have a copy of the report card for your kid. So I think there's already that mechanism there. I would ask Councilmember Kelly. I think we have two separate issues here. Would you welcome a friendly amendment to take the Northwestern piece out, and we can discuss the 202 and D65 kids, and then vote? Because didn't you make a motion that?
I think we already did remove.
Well, her motion was status quo at Northwestern, so it wouldn't involve a. Did I understand that correctly? Yeah. So she's not proposing a change relative to Northwestern.
Okay. So your motion is just 202 D65. Okay. Thanks.
Councilmember Nusma.
Councilmember Hadakatis just cleared up the point I was wanting to clarify.
So that we're clear as far as staff. So we are continuing to allow Northwestern students a pass to the beach. Is that the direction of the council?
I think so.
Yeah, my intent would be Evanston residents who attend Northwestern University, but
not those that are outside.
Correct.
Because currently with an ID, they are allowed access onto our beaches.
To one beach only, no? Just Lincoln Street.
All of them.
All beaches should. They don't have to get a token.
No.
The rest of us do, but they don't.
They use their ID. So I want to make sure that you all.
Just a point of information: ID doesn't have the address on it. You say, yeah.
Okay, so do you want to modify your motion then?
So my understanding from the Parks and Rec Board, what was their I thought their recommendation was that.
Yeah, their recommendation was to not make a change for 65 and 202, but to rein in the Northwestern access so it only applies to students who are residents.
Right. So I guess that was my understanding as to what my motion was, right, so that we would expand it to the District 65 and 202, and I would be open to a friendly amendment to include their families, and that Northwestern students, so their access to Lincoln Street Beach is no different than any other beach. There's no special, no matter where they live.
No matter where they live.
No matter where they live, they have access to all of our beaches.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess I would concur with Parks and Rec to rein that in and expand to our students in District 65 and 202. But I understand that Northwestern staffs Lincoln Street Beach, so I feel like there's a little bit more room for discussion on that end. But so I'd like to hear from my colleagues.
Okay, so I think Councilmember Nusma still has the floor, so we'll start with him.
What I might suggest is we have two separate votes. Let's vote on the Evanston school kids, wrap that one up, then we can have a separate discussion, separate vote on Northwestern students.
Are you okay with that, Councilmember Kelly? So we'll maintain the motion as I described it, and then as soon as the 602-3 issue has been dispensed with, then we can entertain discussions about Northwestern. At this time, no one's asking to speak for first or second time, but Councilmember Reed, I think, wanted to speak to this motion. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and make Councilmember Burns' friendly amendment if you'll accept it. And then I also have numbers from our parking department about revenue. There are not 2024 numbers yet, but in 2023 and every year the trend has been going upward. We have in 2023 there's $308,000 that we received in parking revenue from just the lakefront. And do we know what the revenue was for beach tokens for
Yeah, so
non-residents?
2023, a little over 600,000.
Okay.
2023. And if the 308 for parking, just understand that that does not go into Chief Polyp's budget or mine for any of the maintenance or for staffing the beach. I just wanted to.
Yeah,
it's revenue. Yeah.
Can I just ask for it so that I want to make sure I understand, because I think I've already bumbled one motion. So you're moving
to expand to the friendly amendment is
anybody who has a District 65 or 202 student in their residence?
Correct. Okay. And one more question. Is
there a second to that motion?
Oh, it was a friendly amendment. I think Councilmember Kelly accepted it.
Okay.
One more question. Does Skokie allow free access to their facilities to Evanston residents?
Not free.
Or the same rate as Skokie residents?
No, it's a discount, but it's not free.
And do we offer a discount to Skokie residents for the lakefront? Okay, of equal measure?
You know, the maintenance on a beach and a pool, they're different.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like
One
apples
was-
and oranges, yeah.
Okay. And does Chicago allow free access to Evanston residents to their beaches?
Yes.
No.
Okay, they do.
They do.
I wonder if we're being good neighbors.
Would the clerk please take the roll on the friendly amendment? So this expands the expansion to everybody who resides with a District 65 or 202 student.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris? Councilmember Nguyen? Councilmember Nusma?
No.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton? Councilmember Ravel?
Aye.
Councilmember Reed?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye. With 8 voting in favor and 1 voting against, the motion carries and the motion is amended. Now we have one more speaker before we take a vote on the motion itself. Councilmember Kelly.
So, this would be another amendment, but I had a neighbor across the street who had a family visiting from out of the country. It just seems like we should be able to allow to purchase passes for guests the same way we do for parking on street, where you can buy for a certain amount of money and it's a single use. You fill it out with the date. Like if you get everybody could be allowed to purchase up to 10, say, for, I don't know, a few dollars each to fill out. So if you have family visiting, you don't have to go and figure it out or borrow someone's token. You can just fill it out. I think that would, and I think that would.
You mean illegally borrow someone's token?
I mean, illegally pass your token along or whatever, but I just think it would be nice if we could have a system for purchasing passes for guests.
So you all approved guest beach passes for this season. They're $5.
It's $5 for single use. Okay, so it seems to me if we could, I would say to reduce that, like up to a certain number total, like 10 per household. And it's single use, so I think.
But they're not Evanston taxpayers that are coming to use our beach.
And they are
The
limited.
revenue.
They're
to 20.
friends and family of Evanston residents. So
They're limited to 20.
They're
So,
limited to 20 at $5
someone can
each.
go and purchase all of them and pass them out as they,
Okay.
see fit.
So at $5
And we've gotten about $20,000 this year for
from
guests.
those, from the guest passes? Okay. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of that.
Councilmember Hadakaris, followed by Sufferton.
Yeah, I just want to point out that was something that some neighbors and friends came to me with because they had big families visiting from out of town, and it was way too much money to have just one day at the beach with 10 family members. So I was really happy that Director Thompson and staff figured out a way to do that. But that was my work last year.
Councilmember Sufferton.
I just want to be clear, since looking at the calendar and this items for discussion, this really needs to be nailed down when?
Well, we have one more week at the beach.
Yeah. So this is really a 2025 thing.
It's a 2025.
So that we can revisit this in greater detail at some point between now and Memorial Day 2025?
Oh, wait.
Or is this a budget? I mean, like, when is the time that we need to have this locked down?
I would really like us to do it as soon as possible. So, I mean, we could come back at AMPW the next meeting and, because we already know about District 65 for those, the 60203. If you're still, deciding on Northwestern, I think that's a different conversation, but we can prepare for.
I guess that's the question. Like,
60203.
have you gotten enough direction from council to bring this back?
For 60203.
Well, there's about to be a vote on exactly what we want in 60203.
I mean, I just want to make sure that because I think part of the problem when we did this the first time was that we did it in the middle of a budget year. And so I want to make sure we have this locked down ahead of time. So
thank you.
So with that, would the clerk please take the roll on the motion before us, which is only for 20265, and it's to expand free beach token access to all residents of households that contain a District 65 or 202 student.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Aye.
Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
Aye. With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries. And so I don't think it needs to go to APW. We're here at council, so the motion can be directed to come back to council when you all are ready. Before we move on from A12, though, we decided to bifurcate the two discussions. Does someone have either the desire to discuss or a motion to make relative to the Northwestern issue?
Yeah.
Councilmember Nusma.
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion to maintain the status quo with regards to
You don't need
Northwestern
to make a
students.
motion to maintain the status quo.
Councilmember Nusma moves that we maintain the status quo relative to Northwestern. Councilmember Nguyen seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Kelly.
No.
Councilmember Harris.
No.
Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton.
No.
Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
Aye. With 6 voting in favor and 3 voting against, the motion carries, and so no action is needed from staff on that front. Thanks to all for a very robust discussion. Now on item A13, Councilmember Kelly, do you have a motion?
I move item A13, Resolution 47R24, approving extended hours for liquor service at Northwestern football games on October 5th, 2024 and October 19th, 2024 for catering by Michaels.
Second.
Councilmember Kelly moves approval of Resolution 47-R-24. Councilmember Reed, is that correct?
Correct.
Seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Kelly. Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Aye.
Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
I abstain. With 8 voting in favor, none voting against, and 1 abstention, the motion carries and the resolution is adopted. We've already addressed item HS1, so now moving on to HS2. Is there a motion relative to this item?
I'll move I'll move the tabling of Ordinance 70024, amending Title 5, Chapter 3, Landlord Tenant Regulations, and Title 9, Chapter 4 of the City Code, Dogs, Cats, Animal, and Fowl. I'll move to table that to the second meeting in October.
Councilmember Reed moves to table ordinance 70-00. Is there a second?
I will second.
Councilmember Reed moves to table ordinance 70-0-24 to the second meeting in October. Is that correct?
Correct.
Councilmember Newsome seconds. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Reed.
Yeah. I'm moving to table this. I received, and I think all of us received outreach from the president, or she spoke here earlier as well, but from the president of the Evanston Animal Shelter. I've before I make a referral, I do research. as I think we all do. And from what I have seen, there's nothing that would lead me to believe that, that there would be severe unintended consequences. And I think we could make adjustments to this ordinance if there were. But I for all of its flaws, I do think the free market does have some benefits, in that I don't think it would be feasible for many landlords to say we're just not going to accept pets at all, because there are so many folks who own pets throughout our community. And so, and with the insurance issues that have been corrected in the last few years, I think now is the moment to move forward with this. But I still respect the work that the Evanston Animal Shelter does. I got my dog, who happens to be an American Staffordshire Terrier or Pit Bull, from the shelter. And, so I'm happy to provide some time for them to do some research. And if, a month and a half from now, we find that there are concerns that they're able to identify, then I'm happy to table it further for further refinement. But, my research doesn't show that. Thank you.
Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris. Aye. Councilmember Nguyen. Aye. Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. Aye. Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Heracariz.
Aye. With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and ordinance 70-0-24 will be back before us in 2 months, the second meeting in October. And now on item CC2, is there a motion?
I move item CC2, ordinance 71-024, setting compensation for members of the Evanston City Council.
Councilmember Reed moves introduction of ordinance 71-0-24. Councilmember Harris seconds. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Reed.
Yeah, I'll just, I would have pulled them all off. But, there is a mention about the cost to taxpayers for the menial salaries that we all receive. All of us here, we make less than someone who, like our vice president, someone who works at McDonald's, or someone who used to work at McDonald's. And so it is a small salary. None of us are here because of it, but also we live in the real world. And in the real world, there are folks who would like to serve, folks who are single parents, folks who are lower income, who just don't have the luxury of serving without being compensated fairly. And there have been reports about the inequities of the low salaries that particularly suburban electeds receive, and how it has been exclusionary of people of color, of women, of parents, folks who have to dedicate time to this and thereby take away their potential earning potential in other areas. And there are cities that have moved to address these inequities by creating, more equitable salaries for folks who are serving their community. I think it goes beyond just council members. I think we need to look at providing better benefits to folks who serve on our boards, committees, and commissions, to respect the service and time that they give as well. And again, folks aren't doing it for the compensation, but ultimately it matters for creating a council that more fully reflects the diversity, both racially, gender-wise, and most importantly, economically, a council that reflects that diversity. And so I am happy as a former clerk, I'm happy where the clerk salary is. I think that is more in line with the role. comparing it to other elected clerks of cities of similar sizes, I think it makes sense. I may still think the mayor's salary may be a bit too low, but our mayor is happy to serve with the salary as it is, it seems. And I still contend that even the increase here for the council member compensation is below what I think would really begin to attract a more diverse set of folks. And so I'm not going to make a motion because the complication with this is that it's done in an election season, and for some reason it seems that most of us are cautious to take a stand, particularly with equity in mind, on this issue. I'm hoping that future councils are willing to take this on to make sure that more folks can participate. Thank you.
Councilmember Burns.
I don't think people want volunteers running a city. I think that is appropriate, maybe a library board, maybe your ministry at church. I don't think it's appropriate for a city of our size. And not to say that's what we're doing. We all are offered health insurance and the salary. So maybe that's not what we're doing, but I almost want to make sure that we understand that we really shouldn't be looking at this role as strictly volunteer or something you do on the side or something that you don't put your all into, because we certainly are expected to do more than that from our constituents. And I think a city of our size deserves us to really be all in. So I want us to think about that, not only as we, vote on this item, but I want future compensation committees to think about that as well. This is not a role that should be done by volunteers. Also want to say that, what's the last thought? We hold up past decisions as if it's as if it was the correct standard that we should have developed, our cities around, and they're not. I thought we were at that point where we realized that many decisions in the past were not made with equity in mind, with inclusion in mind, with accessibility in mind, and to continue to hold them up, I think is an outdated way of thinking about how to set up communities and set up the boards that manage cities. And again, I want to keep that in mind. We have to create new standards. And I know for sure that people have decided not to run for office in the city of Evanston because they couldn't figure out how to juggle it with their day job, knowing how demanding this job really is. And we need to keep that in mind. And that's all. Thank you.
At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Reed for a second crack with 1.25 minutes left.
I'll be quick. I feel like I'd be derelict of my duties if I didn't at least make the motion and try. Thinking about folks in my ward who could not serve. And I'll just make one last point. I'm sure all of us experience this, that we are on call 24 hours a day almost. I just this weekend got a call at 11 o'clock at night about noise that ended up happening to be coming from over the border in Chicago. But, we're, if you choose to be on call almost 24 hours. But I will move that I think a more equitable salary would be a salary of $30,000, which is a $10,000 increase from the recommendation. And so I will move that we amend this to have the council member salary reflect that.
Can you please put that in writing? Well, let's first make sure there's a second. Is there a second to that motion?
All right, I made the motion.
All right, the motion fails for lack of a second. At this time, no one else is requesting to speak. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris? Oh, Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
No.
Councilmember Hedekaris.
No. With 7 voting in favor and with 7 voting in favor and 2 voting against, the motion carries and ordinance 71-0-24 is introduced. Introduction. Yeah. Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. All right. I hate to do this. We made a mistake. There was an item on the consent agenda that required an amendment. So I'm going to request a motion to reconsider the consent agenda, a remaking of the consent agenda motion with one additional exception, and then we'll handle that exception. Would someone please make the motion to?
I'll move reconsideration of the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilmember Reed moves reconsideration of the consent agenda. Councilmember Newsman seconds.
Minus,
the roll. No, just reconsideration is first.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Will the clerk please take the roll on the motion to reconsider?
Councilmember Kelly. Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hedekaris.
Aye. With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries and the motion is reconsidered. Now, the request that I would make is that someone remove the consent agenda, but with A16 additionally pulled off of it, please.
I move the consent agenda minus the items that have already been dealt with tonight and item A16.
Second. Councilmember Reed moves adoption of the consent agenda with the following exceptions: A2, A12, A13, A16, HS1, HS2, and CC2. Councilmember Harris seconds. Councilmember Reed.
Yeah, this is just a point of order for future use, and hopefully this doesn't happen again, but I don't think we had to reconsider maybe Corporation Council the whole consent agenda. I don't see any reason why we couldn't have just reconsidered item A16 itself.
It doesn't matter. Let's just move on.
It does matter because
It's something to look into.
Kind of silly for us to have to reconsider the whole thing.
Thank you. I never said I had found the most elegant solution to the predicament we found ourselves in. Would the clerk please take the roll on the slightly modified consent agenda motion, please?
Councilmember Kelly. Yes. Oh, Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hedekaris.
Aye. With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries and the consent agenda with the 7 items previously read is adopted. So the only item left for us to address is item A16. Councilmember Kelly, would you care to make a motion on item A16?
I'd like to move item A16, ordinance 67024, amending section 726, occupation of public waste for business purposes permits.
Councilmember Kelly moves adoption of ordinance 67-0-24. Councilmember Nguyen seconds. Councilmember Ravel.
Let's see if I can do this properly. I move to remove the language of the first ordinance and replace it with the language of the second ordinance in the packet.
Councilmember Ravel moves to amend ordinance 67-0-24 by replacing it in its entirety with the other version that is in the packet that's been made public since early Friday morning. Councilmember Nguyen seconds. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, would the clerk please take the roll on the amendment?
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Aye.
Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye, but point of order, this is listed for action. It's for introduction, correct?
No, this is actually for action.
It's A16. Councilmember Harakaris.
Aye. Yeah, sorry, if it had been for introduction, I would have not done this whole fire drill, but it is actually for action. With 9 voting in favor and 0 voting against, the motion carries and the ordinance is amended. And now on the amended ordinance, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Nuzma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Harakaris.
Aye. With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries and ordinance 67-0-24 as amended is adopted. The next item on the agenda is call of the wards. Councilmember Kelly.
No report.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. As we know, we had some tragedies in the second ward, and I just wanted to commend our police department, our community engagement, and actually the community in general in the second ward and throughout all of Evanston for coming together and working through the complications that we found with things that have happened in the community. We are keeping an eye on everything, but our police department did an outstanding job. Everyone involved and that played major roles in the incidents that happened have been arrested. Charges have been maintained through the state's attorney's office. So kudos to our Evanston Police Department under the direction of Police Chief Stewart and then all of the rest of the team. As mentioned, we will be vigilant. If you know something, hear something, see something, please say something. I do show up, even when they don't want me there, I'm there. We will have our second ward meeting tomorrow at 6:30 at Robert Crown. I look forward to seeing people there. And that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Yes, there will be a joint 3rd and 4th Ward meeting on Thursday, August 29th, in the main library 3rd floor conference room. It's to discuss a proposed development at the corner of Chicago and Dempster. And then in addition, the next 3rd Ward office hours are Thursday, September 5th from 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., as always at Brothers K.
Councilmember Nusma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In addition to the joint meeting with the 3rd Ward, the 4th Ward is co-sponsoring a meeting with 1st Ward, Councilmember Kelly. This is a Zoom meeting with regards to the proposed Legacy Horizon project on Chicago Avenue. This is essentially the same meeting we had a few weeks ago, but again, with a little bit bigger notice for folks that couldn't make it to the first one. This meeting will be a Zoom meeting. So it's Wednesday, September 4th at 6 p.m., a Zoom meeting for the Legacy Horizon project. And then back in September, we'll be on our regular schedule for ward meetings and office hours. So 4th Ward meeting is Tuesday, September 3rd, 7 p.m. at Robert Crown as usual. And office hours will be Saturday, September 14th from 10 a.m. to noon at Berry Pike Cafe. Thank you.
Councilmember Burns.
No report.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Ravel.
No report.
Councilmember Reed.
We are having an 8th ward meeting. We're likely rescheduling from this Thursday as ETHS is having their open house on the same day and same time. And so we want to make sure that parents can join in, but we'll be having our Mr. Dorsey, who is the head of our care team, joining us. We'll have Lucas Tatara, who is the interim parking manager, and we may have someone from Public Works as well as Officer Basner of the community policing team joining us to have a wide-ranging discussion about community needs. Also, for those who are watching at this time, which is an earlier time, we have elections coming up, and I just want to encourage folks to participate in our democracy and to participate in a meaningful way. And as the clerk has put information out about how to participate, I hope folks are taking advantage of that. So that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
I will be having office hours September 6th on Friday from 10 a.m. Till noon at Reprise Roasters on Main Street. See you there.
And now Councilmember Nusma is recognized to make a motion.
Pursuant to 5 Illinois compiled statutes 120/2, I move that the City Council convene into executive session to discuss agenda items regarding security procedures, litigation, and minutes review. These agenda items are permitted subjects to be considered in executive session and are enumerated exceptions under the Open Meetings Act. These exceptions are 5 ILCS 120/2, C11, C8, and which one is minutes? C21.
Councilmember Nusma moves that the City Council convene itself into an executive session to discuss the 3 items just enumerated. Councilmember Harris seconds. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
Aye.
With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries. And at 7:33 p.m., the City Council convenes into an executive session to begin immediately in the Councilmember Library.